Figure 4 Radio.
Lock it in.
Lock it in.
Lock it in. Lock it in.
Lock it in.
Figure 4 Radio.
Hello everyone, welcome to Figure 4 Radio. It's the Mastermind Ollie Spring. Today I'm joined by Chaos Kai Payne.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm not too bad, man. You right?
I'm good. I'm doing good.
So Chaos Kai Payne. CKP. I kind of like the CKP
CKP
thing. That's got a nice little ring to it. Where's the Chaos come from now?
The Chaos is a new idea. So we're actually in Cedars Up School right now.
Yep.
And when I first joined the school, there was a teacher that knew my family, and he sort of knew our family reputation. We're quite a boisterous family. He said, Chaos, does that make sense? You know what? I'm going to call you Chaos. So as like a 14-year-old kid, I was being called Chaos by my
Wow.
PE class, but never anywhere else.
Okay.
So like, funnily enough, somewhere where I felt like I fit in, I was called Chaos. So now I feel like I finally found my role in wrestling, found my place. This is where I belong, and I strongly believe that I should stay here for as long as I can. So
here being
sacrificed
in sacrifice, or
everywhere
just as you are as Chaos Kai Payne?
as I am as Chaos. Yeah, that as well. I think it's kind of as a mindset and how I treat the wrestling now. It's where I feel like I should be. So Chaos is kind of followed off as a play off my first name. Sounds quite like my real name. And it's chaos. This business is unorganised. It's mental. It's all these things. So chaos is me in wrestling.
That's true. That's true. Cool, man. So let's take it right the way back. How did you discover wrestling? So, one day you didn't have a clue what wrestling was. Then what? How did you kind of find out about this crazy world?
There's that cliche thing of what people say. When I was 10 years old, I saw Hulk Hogan body slam the Giant and stuff. But like,
there's no way you would say years old.
No, I was minus 13 or something. No, I can't remember a time before my life where I didn't obsess over wrestling. I mean, growing up, I just my earliest memories were watching SmackDown, Raw, Velocity, Heat, all the experience on a Sunday on Sky One, anything I could get a hold of, and playing with wrestling figures. I had so many of these wrestling figures. Nice. And my mum.
So is that thanks to your parents? Is it?
Heavily mum and dad, because they. So I've got I've got tic disorder, which is like a form of Tourette's. So it's essentially like when I was younger, I had like a really hard time growing and being myself, and so essentially wrestling was such an escape. It was kind of almost like an obsession at the same time. So so with the wrestling figures and the TV, I was all over it, and I honestly can't remember a time before any of that where I wasn't focusing on wrestling. So
that's awesome, man.
There's nothing I can remember beforehand.
That's pretty cool.
But yes, since the early days of Chaos Kai Payne, it's always been professional wrestling.
Who was it that stood out for you as a young kid?
In terms of stars, there's kind of two big names as a kid. So the Undertaker was mesmerising to me. He was like the dog. It wouldn't matter who was on the show. It wouldn't matter what was going on. It was the Undertaker was the king. But as a small kid, I remember feeling so much fear for the Big Show. Okay. So the Big Show would come out, and it was the sort of time where he was wrestling JBL in the barbed wire steel cage.
Yeah, man, No Way Out 2005. No Way Out, that's the one. Yeah. So, I love that cage match.
Oh, it's quality.
I was talking about someone a couple of weeks ago.
A lot of people nowadays say it wasn't as good as a cage match, but to me, that was like, how are they going to get out? Do you know what I mean?
The ending was just absolutely brilliant. It hasn't been done before. It hasn't been done since.
And as a kid, that crushed me because I was like, Big Show has finally done it. JBL got out underneath the ring. It brought me so far down again.
It was like on the last step, and then the bell went. And
Big Show's milking it. And I was like, just go, just take one more step, and you're the one. And JBL crawls out, and that was like, wow, professional wrestling has just taken me on a roller coaster.
That was genuinely one of my favourite finishes to any match ever. Because it was just
different, isn't it? You don't see that kind of finish every now and again. It's Monday Night Raw, and as it is at the minute, it's all recycled, and every finish is something that's been done 2 months down the line. But like for me to watch that, especially being so, I kind of thought, wow, if the Big Show was here, I'd be so scared of that guy. But because he was babyface, I was completely invested and hated JBL. Love him now, but hated him at the time. And that was them sort of characters was really what got me into wrestling, especially that match with Big Show and JBL. It really hooked me.
That was a good match. It's a solid match.
Later on, CM Punk when he was sort of doing his early straight edge stuff on SmackDown. that kind of got me as across as like, wow, this guy can really talk.
Yeah.
Like, really, he can. He's got me hooked on every line. He's got the fans hooked on every line. So for me, those three guys really stood out.
Cool.
But growing up, yes,
So you obviously you've never known anything other than wrestling. At what point did you start thinking like you could maybe do this, or you wanted to get involved?
Yeah, there's a story to that.
Let's hear it, man. Let's hear it.
So I was this is kind of embarrassing. So as like a 15-year-old kid, I'd kind of been telling people that, because I'd seen training, and I was like, I think it was IPW or something like that.
Okay,
45, 50 minutes away, and I was like, right, so what I could do is I could save up some money, I could buy a moped, right, because I was 16, buy a moped at 16 years old, ride up to wherever this training was and do that.
Is it Kent IPW?
It's a long way. It's longer than I should be going on a moped. So at the time I was like, yeah, this is great. I can do it. And I was kind of telling people, so yeah, I'm going to get into professional wrestling soon. I'm training to be a professional wrestler. And all I wasn't. I was just, at home on a trampoline.
Yeah.
And I don't knock trampoline wrestling, because that gave me the fundamentals that built my career.
Okay.
Like that was the Rikishi spin, the frog splash and all that. That's all came from trampoline. I would never be able to do that if it wasn't for TTW, which was our Total Trampoline Wrestling Club.
Okay.
So no, but I think what kicked off for me was my dad looked at me and said, "You're really not going to give this shit up, are you? You're keen for this to be your role for the next however many years." And then we had a bit of family problems at home. It was going to come out that something was going to change in our family. It's their place to say, not mine. But essentially, it was like, right, if we can get Kai to wrestling, at least he's going to have something to take his mind off stuff as a 15, 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Which is where I met Danny Mayhem, which is where I met people like it was Max Thompson. Is that Max Thompson now?
Pete, yeah.
He's still Pete to us.
Wherever he's going by these days, yeah.
The Phantom or Two-Face, or
I think I called him Major the last time I was on commentary, just to take the piss out of him.
Yeah. Is that Major Rare behind that Two-Face?
It could be.
So that was it. It was my dad basically said to me, right, let's. I think he kind of thought the English scene isn't really big for him. If he's going to do it, he's going to have to go to the US and do it. But he thought, you know what, why not? Let's just try and find somewhere local. Let's try and give him something. And
how many years ago was this then that your dad was kind of getting you?
This was as I just turned 16 when we finally got to training. Because it was obviously a lot of emails were sent back and forth, because they didn't really want to send me to somewhere that, like if they don't want to leave me alone in Milton Keynes, on my own kind of thing as a kid. So this was just after I turned 16.
I'm like 3 or 4 years ago?
I'm 20 in about 3.5 weeks. So this was just under 4 years ago.
Okay, so actually, what I guess your dad probably didn't realise, actually the UK scene was where it was at.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I'm kind of blessed in the fact that I've started training
at the perfect time.
I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going down in the UK scene at the minute, and this is a great time to be part of professional
100%.
wrestling.
So before we go further, TTW, I need to hear about this.
This is Total Trampoline Wrestling. Funnily enough,
I want this to be on YouTube somewhere.
It may be on YouTube somewhere.
I know what I'm doing straight after the interview.
It's most certainly on my laptop at home.
Okay.
And there's early shots of us hitting each other, going, like trying to make the voices, but we obviously hadn't.
Who's us?
This was me and some village friends that I grew up with.
Anyone else that's taken it as seriously as you, or?
No, however, they don't seem very impressed that I took it up professionally.
Really?
They're kind of just like, oh yeah, Kai's a wrestler. I think it hit them because it was obviously so early on in my career, and I was talking about it for so long. I was the one that didn't grow out of wrestling on the trampoline. So when they were all like, yeah, come on mate, we got to do our GCSEs now, I was like, nah mate, let's have a little wrestle. Do you know what I mean? I want to hit the RKO because it looks like a cool move. I want to hit the choke slam. But little side note, my finishing move stayed the same. So I was calling it the Aftershock back then.
Okay.
Had a balaclava and a US basketball vest and fingerless gloves.
what was your ring? Was it a different ring name, or
what did I call myself? I think I was called. I think I might have just been called Kai Payne.
Okay.
I actually think that might have been my name,
that's your name, isn't it? It's not like a gimmick name.
But my real name's Chaos Payne.
Yeah.
obviously when I got into wrestling, I was like, how marketable is Chaos going to be to children? How are they going to be able to spell? Because I've never met anyone in my life. I've never met anyone in my life that's been able to spell my name.
C-A-I-U-S.
That's the one. It is a weird one. And originally it's just one eye. My mum and dad went, let's stick another eye in there. Why not? So we stuck an eye in there, and I've got a weird name. So I thought, right, if I might make myself more marketable to kids, and as an actual gimmick, Kai Payne, K-A-I, just sounded right to me at the time. And once I got the KP written on the gear, it all just came together, and I was, haven't looked back. Well, Chaos Kai Payne is kind of like, there's a bit of my real name in there. You know, so it sounds very much like it.
Because obviously I just thought you were just being a bit chaotic, but there's a school nickname in there. There's some method to the madness behind it. There's some thinking behind it. So your dad was reaching out to find schools for you to go to.
Essentially, yeah. It was. I kind of owe it to my dad, because
that's cool, man.
That first training session was 2 hours long, and he sat outside for the whole 2 hours.
Whereabouts was that?
This was Wolverton. This was kind of Milton Keynes, Milton Keynes area. Some rundown gym on the below a gym. It was kind of like a small room cramped with sweaty guys all talking about wrestling, and I came out of that and I said, Dad, I found my purpose. I found like I met like-minded people for the first time in my life.
Before then, did you have many friends that were into wrestling as that?
Wrestling, not at all.
So that was like you walked into a room and all of a sudden
complete escape for me. None of my mates would talk about it occasionally, like, it's WrestleMania in a few weeks, that kind of thing. Do you want to watch Royal Rumble? Yes, I'd want to watch Royal Rumble, but never talking about it critically. They would just say this guy's really
just
good.
Watch it because it's on.
Yeah, it was never anything serious. Which always kind of hurt, because it was like this professional wrestling is for many people an escapism, and it's such a cool thing to be part of. So I never found anyone that really wanted to be in it as much as I did. So when I got in that gym for the first time ever, these people were all having the same ideas. They were all coming up to me and shaking hands and stuff, and I was like, this is where I was supposed to be.
Cool.
But yeah, essentially that's what started my career, was my dad. I kind of owe it to my dad for taking me that first time.
So that first training session was what, 3 or 4 years ago now?
3.5 years ago.
And how long?
No, just below 4 years.
Wow, that's crazy. And so you're 16 back then, and I think that's that's crazy. I have no idea what I was doing when I was 16, but it wasn't anything anywhere near as cool as that.
No, I know. It was different. No other 16-year-olds would at the time, especially. I mean, you see a lot more younger guys wrestling now and training now. But no, I was in a league of my own at that kind of stage. Everyone was thinking you're mad, surely. I remember the next oldest guy up was 22.
Wow.
So there was a massive gap. Gap.
So what was that like, kind of obviously being a young kid in a room full of much older people that were... I'm sure that must have been intimidating as fuck.
You know what? I kind of owe it to this business for helping me to become who I am today, because when I got in there, it wasn't like these guys were looking at me thinking I was a kid here. They'd all like a wrestler's code is to come and shake everyone's hand.
Yep.
So I was always included in that. And the first guy I met was Stephen Quinlan.
Yeah.
So he helped me for really, like, a really nice guy. Like, couldn't have asked any more, and it was like everyone was all sweaty and smelly, but so was I. And it was a really cool environment to be part of. But it wasn't. You know what? I was very, very intimidated the first time I went, and I had no idea what to think, and I felt very embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Are you gonna take my money?" And the guy was like, "No, it's your first time training for free." So essentially, after that first time, every week, didn't miss a week for like nearly 2 years, and it was like I need to train, I need to be there. I haven't had my fix of wrestling, and then when ring training came around once a month, mate, that was like all I looked forward to.
What was that like, getting into like an actual ring for the first time?
Ridiculous. Yeah. I say this to newbies. That was Dunstable. That was I say this to people now. I don't get in the ring now and think, oh, it's all exciting, I'm getting into a ring.
Well, you've done it hundreds of times.
I've done it so many times now, but I still get like the nerves before a match or before a show, which is, I think if you don't get them, you shouldn't be doing it.
I literally said that exact sentence to someone last night who was nervous about, I think maybe reffing today. He's reffing for the first time. I said, mate, the day you're not nervous,
don't be here.
Don't turn up.
That's it. Don't bother showing up, because there's fans out there that are paying to see this product, and if you're not completely invested in this product, don't be here. It's as simple as that. But like you said, it was very intimidating, but then to come away from that and say, look, there's no intimidation now, let's get in this product and be part of it. I still get in the ring now and get like a little bit of a little bit flustered about like what I might feel like on the ring. But no, that first time getting in the ring, wow, it was such an experience to just hold the ropes and be in a wrestling ring, because that was the first time for me.
And then flash forward, I guess, your first, because I think, am I right in thinking your first like kind of match, as it were, was it a Rumble in Leighton? You made
that was the one. Yeah, that was
and
the one.
To think, were you in bright green
tights?
Yes,
yeah.
I remember this.
Second hand passed me down, luchador tights.
Yeah.
I got
remember
it
vividly.
Hell, oh my god!
Who was? I'm trying to think who else was in there. There was a few other newbies, if I remember rightly.
This was possibly I made my debut at the same time as Danny Mayhem.
Yeah, and he just played as Gaz.
So I started. He was
just
Gaz, and he was also wearing bright green tights. I think his had silver, and they were also hand me downs.
Yeah.
So this was like mine and Gaz's first match. And I remember looking across to the ring to him and giving him a little smile, going, "We're actually here."
Yeah,
to the 20 people.
Gonna say, yeah. I mean, the Brooklands Club, one of my least favourite venues ever. I'm kind of glad that
we've moved on.
Sacrifice it, because I don't know. It's a weird room. It was a weird room. It had no atmosphere. Yeah, well, there was no atmosphere really.
Well, that's it. I remember the first time I went to watch one of their shows was 2 weeks. Believe it or not, I got onto that Rumble after like 2 months. I mean,
wow.
It was quite quick compared to a lot of other people I was wrestling with. It's the same for Gaz, the same for Danny Mayhem, because we were both very much starting out, and you wouldn't have been there to calm us down backstage, even though there wasn't many people out there. To us, it was like we were putting on gear for the first time, we're wrestling for the first time. But yeah, it's me and Gaz had our first match together, and it was essentially a Royal Rumble in front of 20 people.
Yeah.
But the 2 weeks before, there was 6 people in there.
Yeah.
And that was just like
that
was a horrible atmosphere.
I might have even been there live calling that one. And
I think weird. I could hear you calling it.
Yes, that was thinking. I felt weird getting excited because all of a sudden everyone was looking at me instead of what's on in the ring, and I'm like, no, this isn't right.
Look how far wrestling's come.
100%. Yeah. Well, say we're today Cedars Upper School for Sacrifice Pro 3. And it's going to be a pack. Well, hopefully it'll be a pack.
Let's hope it's packed.
So when was your first actual match? Because to me, I always say to people, if you're in a Rumble, that's cool. But if you make your debut in a Rumble, you haven't really debuted. When was your first?
You take a few strikes and you get thrown out.
That's it. Yeah. When was your first match?
My first match was against Stephen Quinlan. In Dunstable, and he
was that on the old weird pre-shows that they used to do?
It was one of the Academy shows,
Academy show,
he pinned me via the tights.
Yes.
So he pulled the tights. It was about 5 minutes, 30 seconds long.
I think I definitely called that one as well.
I wouldn't be surprised. It was one of them where I was rehearsing in my head over and over again, thinking I'm going to forget it, and now I'll do like that much in a heat. Do you know what I mean? It was like it was such a small space of time, but I look back at it very fondly because it was my first ever time where I was going, right, hope spot, come back, where what actually makes a wrestling match.
Yeah.
And again, it was very early on. It was like 3-4 months into my career or something like that. So that was my first match. I then beat Stephen. I got the rematch against him. A month later. And beat him. Thank God.
I'm getting some crazy flashbacks right now from stuff I thought I'd forgotten about, but now I'm remembering this.
A lot of Stephen Quinlan's heat, maybe. Yeah. that was interesting to sell for. I've got a lot of respect for him. He's someone
top bloke.
Someone in my career who's really. I don't think he realises how much he actually helped my career.
That's cool.
Essentially, the first person I met in the wrestling business was him, and he knew the basics. He didn't know loads, but he knew the basics, and he guided me through all of that. He really helped me come into the business because I kind of thought, right, here's how I lock up. This guy's knows these people, and he introduced me to more people, and it's just people like that you don't forget, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He kind of gave me that.
He took the time.
He took the time, and I know a lot of people are like that in the business, but I suppose you only really meet the first person. Everyone's got the first person they meet, and for me that's Stephen Quinlan. So
cool.
for me to have my first ever win against him was kind of like it was a nice sort of note to start.
I guess obviously gave him the win as well to kind of
it was kind of like, well, he'd already had shows before me. He started before me, so I it was like you owe. He was roughing up the newbies. So I let Stephen Quinlan rough me up. That will stay on my mind.
Said nobody ever.
Exactly. I hope he's listening to this.
I'll tag him. So one story I'm always telling people, it was a time when Robbie E came over to training and we were talking about character, and you weren't picked on necessarily, but he asked quite a question.
I remember hearing this in Hustles. In Hustles
and I feel I'm going to apologise because I feel like Like, I'm not deliberately picking on you, but it was a good example.
It's such a good example.
Yeah.
I mean, I fell into the bait so much. Like, I was just so...
He knew what you were going to say straight off the bat.
Straight away, and I was like, so what kind of character are you as a heel? And I'm like, I'm a really mean guy.
Yeah.
I'm a cocky guy. Like,
and he was like, every heel's cocky. Every heel's me.
See,
like, who are you?
Now that's like, I would not give him the same answer now. But essentially, I fell right into his trap. But it made a point for everyone to say, I think
it definitely made a point with me. I've remembered that ever since because I was like, holy shit, that's right. Like,
you're not a bad guy, you're a character.
Yeah.
That's a bad guy. Yeah. So if you can't transfer your character into a good guy, then what are you doing?
Yeah. Because did that have as much an impact on you as it did on me when I heard it?
100%. It was one of those times where I kind of got a bit red on the face, looked around and went, wow, I've made a mistake there. But it was also like very refreshing to hear someone have a genuine opinion about wrestling. It's like one of these things where a guy said to you, what kind of character are you? I messed up my answer, and then everyone kind of looked around and went, yeah, that's a good thing. And the trainer looked at it. I think
if he'd have asked anybody, they'd have said exactly the same thing as you.
I think if he'd have asked the vets at the time, they'd have said the same thing.
Man.
I mean, the vets
I'm not going to name drop, but Jesus, some of the characters,
Jesus, it was bog standard British wrestling volume 1, pretty much.
Arm
bars and headlocks,
left, right, and centre. Yeah.
I'm very glad we've come away from that as far as possible as well. I'll still hit an occasional headlock and go wrestling. Yeah. But, it's... no, Robbie E, when he came down, I shook his hand. Couldn't thank him enough for what he said, because it really did... It did help me from there, because now I've established a character. I've embraced the chaos, this whole thing. So I've got more of a backstory than I ever had. And I thought... I kind of thought, as a 19-year-old... Well, 17-year-old kid at the time, what character can I really have other than I'm blonde and I've got blue eyes? Yeah. So that was kind of but that's what I became. Like, I started driving up to London and Northampton and Nottingham and places like this to get extra bookings, because I started driving, and they would see a blonde hair, blue eyed kid, babyface. Yeah. So can you come out here and be the young babyface, please? I'm like, well, if that's what you want, that's what I've got to do.
So what works is... I've kind of... We've always had a few chats every time you kind of switch back and forth between characters. Have you found it tricky to get over as a heel now, like, or to be the bad guy? Because, like you say, you are the quintessential, like you say, blue-eyed babyface. Really.
Well, as a babyface, my crowd work was basic, but works like a charm. Yeah. Like, it was like kids would see someone that's not actually that much older than them doing something against someone that's 20 years older than them and go, right, this is great. And the families would also sort of gravitate towards me, because like I'm kind of a young that young kind of look is very easy on a basic British wrestling level to gravitate towards. As a heel, our first few runs as a heel were kind of like, what am I doing? If I say to God, what are we calling him now? So what are we calling Specs now? Blizzard? Blizzard? Yeah. So Blizzard was in. I was in a tag match with him, and I just we hit the cut off, and I just sort of mauled his face, trying to rip his mouth, like biting him and stuff like that. But it wasn't controlled. It wasn't smooth. It was chaotic. It was chaotic, but it was like uncomfortable chaos. You know what I mean? Yeah. But the first few times a bit rough, and then I had one match as a heel. I had one match as a babyface against Oliver Peace. You called it.
That was the best match I called that year.
Really?
100%. Whenever people ask me to send them like an example of me commentating, that's my go-to match.
Is it? Yeah, that was quality. That was
the match was quality. I think me and Kai Brand on commentary we were firing all cylinders. The match was great. On genuinely speaking, was it 2014?
I believe
it was Christmas 2014.
It was definitely
match of the year for me for that year.
Wow, 100%. There you go. It was like.
I was actually going to ask you about how much you remember of that match.
Oh, loads. I go back to that match quite often.
Because actually, that was the first wrestling match I ever edited on video as well.
Really?
Because I think Lee Hustle Malone was doing the video work for it, and I think I'm not sure if he was saying he would only film it and not edit it. I think, and I think Ollie wasn't paying him to to fully edit it. So he sent me all the footage for your match.
Oh yeah.
And I pieced it together and actually cut everything.
It's a good piece of work.
I was quite happy with it.
Yeah, no,
I was quite surprised at how
we watched that on the TV at Christmas Day. So we stuck your thing on Christmas Day, and we were listening to you guys commentating. Like my mum and dad were thinking, God, these guys are commentating on my son's match. And I was like, yeah, this is wrestling.
Standard.
Come and watch. You know what I mean?
Stuff, yeah.
But no, it's crazy to like you said. It's crazy to think Hustle Malone was filming. Chase Williams was refereeing and stuff in those sort of times, and I'm in the ring, and now these guys are
flash forward a few years.
In such a good place right now, and like they're some of the guys I really wish they. I hope the best for them because they're like the guys that I kind of grew up in this business with Danny Mayhem and stuff like that. But no, that match against Oliver Peace was probably one of my. It's got to be in my top 3 still because it was just. Babyface, but it had structure.
It had a dynamic, and the pendulum swung back and forth a few times.
I hinted the finish like 3 or 4 times, and we had a really good chemistry that night. That was one of the first times I'd wrestled with a guy. Do you know when a lot of wrestlers say when they get back, they go, "I had chemistry with that guy."
And I say, as someone watching, you can tell.
Yeah,
I've called so many terrible matches and known that those two guys did not click.
They're miscommunicating. They're doing something wrong, but it felt like. No matter what, like I think there's a spot where I was supposed to throw him in and go for a move straight away, and I picked him up at the wrong time, and he just dropped down, gave me a move, and I hit one back, and went, "Oh right, I've got to do this spot again." So we just went back to it like nothing had even happened, and it was very smooth and very. A guy I have that with now is El Jeff.
Yeah.
I've had 3 matches with him, and our chemistry is like it's like nothing I've had before. Those 2 guys, especially El Jeff, we can just work it so. And I think that match I had, the Illumination with Pete Dunne? Pete Dunne versus Ryan Smart versus Gene Money.
Yeah, I was there for that. Yeah.
I called that
with Harvey Dale. Yeah.
The first half main event was me versus Jeff for the title.
Oh
and
yes,
that's my best match.
Yeah.
In terms of like. What actually went on? We had a 15-minute match planned, and we had to do it in 10 minutes. Yeah, and we didn't change anything.
Just squeeze it.
So we just did it quicker.
I'm not sure if I've ever actually seen the footage for that. Which is a shame.
I mean, I don't want to recommend my stuff, but recommend my stuff. Like, it was as good as the Oliver Peace match, if not a teeny bit better. Okay. Just because I looked like so much more comfortable in my character. Yeah.
Well, so it was obviously a few years on, and
exactly. Yeah, but like,
if I can, I don't know if that. Do you know if that footage ever made it out?
I've got footage of it. I think it's unlisted. I've got the 17-minute video of it. So but
I'll find it. I'm sure.
It's on there. But yeah, like those 2 matches kind of stick out for me because the first one I was a babyface against Oliver Peace, but he was more over than I was because his promotion, isn't it? He's been there a long time, and he's a good babyface. The colours, the gimmick. So that was my first kind of experience as a heel, was as a babyface. But then if you fast forward to the El Jeff match, I'm so in my character and so in my zone. So I guess to answer the original question, which was about me being a heel, am I right? I think so, somewhere along the way. I'm very much in that heel mode now, and I feel like 100% of my character from when I go out the curtain to when I go back in is all heel. There's no flickers of babyface like there used to be. They used to say, don't pin like that, or don't put that, don't do that move that way.
The little kind of things that probably tweaks. 99% of the audience don't notice, but
you do.
And
they might not notice it, but subliminally they might at the same time. But yeah, that's my sort of life as a heel.
One thing I was thinking about was I know, like Leighton Buzzer, because you're a Leighton boy, aren't you?
I am indeed.
Yeah.
Local boy.
So when you're here, obviously, I think you get quite a few people down, I guess, to come and watch you.
Yeah, I've got my niece and nephews coming today.
Does that ever make life trickier for you, having people here that obviously know you and like 100%.
You? 100%. It's. I said this all the time. I said to him, I was like, guys, if you want to come to a show, let me know. I'll let you know when the big ones are.
Yeah.
But I never rush to get people there because it's just a little bit more pressure.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like if I'm going out there in front of like a crowd that no one knows me, it's so much easier to be myself. Whereas if you can kind of look at them and go, yeah, this is me being my character.
This is just who you are.
And it kind of goes a little bit like south. And that's Chris Pugh just giving me a lovely sign there. Cheers for that, Chris. Thank you. Yeah.
One thing I always remember was, do you remember Showcase?
I do.
There was a Milton Keynes show, and he brought down so many friends, and he was meant to be like the valet of the heel champ at the time. And so he was meant to be the heel. He was up against somebody. It might have even been yourself. I can't remember about that far.
Probably was.
And he'd brought so many people along. He was getting cheered mercifully. Like everyone was like, showcase.
Top
I'm like,
base.
and that's it. And yet he's meant to be the big bad heel that's backing up the biggest bad heel. And obviously he kind of. It just didn't click. And this is the thing, like, and I see you obviously like all your family and friends turning up because there's a few photos of you and like I'm guessing with your nieces in your Kai Payne shirts and stuff. And it's weird seeing that obviously, and I'm noticing with this with Sacrifice at the moment is there's especially with like Hustle for example. So everybody knows that Hustle is putting this all together. So obviously he's not.
It's hard to.
It's not the meanest son of a bitch, but
and he's so goddamn good. It's hard to boo someone that's that so much charisma.
Yeah. Obviously, so you've obviously got people turn up that kind of like you, I guess, as it were. I'm trying to think where I was going with this.
They think I'm alright.
I think
they tolerate me.
I think with Sacrifice, the thing I'm noticing is the crowds kind of play along, as it were. So they might like you as a guy, but they know that when you're out there, they've got to boo you.
To a sense, yeah. I think even if they do cheer me, I'm so OTT with my crowd work that they don't really have a choice at the end of it. I'm like, if someone's cheering me, that's kind of offending me, so I'll go up to them and I'll make that. So with a lot of my family, they're kind of like, do we cheer you or do we boo you? And I was like, you're paying your money, do what you want. It doesn't mean anything to me. I'm just going to try and make you boo.
See, I'd get into boo. If I'd say no and just boo me out.
Make me look better as a heel.
Yeah, take all the years of frustration that you can never really abuse me in front of
Well, I think they kind of cringe more when I hit the mat, when I take a bump, even if it's a body slam. They're like, oh, they can't watch it because it's like
they think
because it's real life. It's right in front of you. It's real life. You know what I mean? You can't fake being slammed on the floor.
It's true.
So essentially, it becomes more of like a body race car derby smashing. Do you know what I mean? It's cringeworthy for them to watch, not in the sense of the wrestling is, but it's cringy to see because I've been injured so many times.
Yeah,
I've been in and out of hospital about 8 or 9 times with different broken bones and stuff. So every time
has it actual breaks?
I've broke my finger, my wrist, my cheekbone, my knee, my ankle.
Which was the worst out of all this?
My knee.
How did you do that?
16 years old at a house party.
Oh, okay. Oh, so not wrestling?
Just before. Not wrestling. Just before I started wrestling. In fact, as I got healthy again, I turned 15, 16. I think late 16s, and I got back into wrestling. So I shouldn't have started wrestling. Really, I should have given myself more time. Yeah. They said you won't walk in a year, and I was doing exercise in like 6 months.
Wow.
A bit of a John Cena.
Yeah.
So it was on our house party, jumping up and down the trampoline, and I remember thinking, wow, I'm as high as this house. And then the next thing I remember thinking was, my leg's not attached.
Jesus.
And so the patella kind of snapped and ripped off something on the other side of my knee.
Ouch.
So now there's 2 big bolts keeping it all in place.
Jesus. So what's the worst that you've done, like wrestling wise, as far as
Chase Williams running at me, and I gave him a back elbow and my arm dislocated. Oh. And I remember looking at him, and he fed up for the next move, and I was like, please don't feed up. Please don't feed up.
How long ago was this?
This was a year and a half ago.
Oh my god.
So this was it might not have been a year.
Was that 2KW or was that
this was Hope. This was me and Jay Garner against Team Mad. So Lee was there, Valet, and Chase and Danny. And it was just on the comeback, and I was like, Jesus! Like as soon as I've hit my comeback, I've dislocated my arm.
Popped it.
So I gave him the insecurity to keep him down, and I just popped it back in.
Jesus Christ!
I kind of saw on TV how you should do it, and I was like, if I just do that, it'll kind of do it.
Did it work?
Well, my shoulder crunches today, so probably not. And then I had to do the suicide dive like straight after that.
Oh my! And
so you can see the footage of me. I look like I've got tears in my eyes. It's painful. And then we won. I gave him it's the worst painkiller I've ever given. It's more of like an FU, and I sort of hit my back. Yeah. And then that's it. Attitude adjustment. So I'm a bit old school John Cena guy.
No.
It's still
that's
FU,
the best way to be, I think. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the worst injury in wrestling by far, because it's such a scary feeling to know that you're out there in front of the crowd and there's nothing you can do about.
You can't just say, hang on, wait a second,
you
can't
just roll out and walk behind the curtain, because I've thought that before. Like, if I get really hurt, I'll just roll out and walk behind the curtain, but you can't do that. You just can't, and it's kind of what you do to the wrestlers around you as well. Saying that, I got Jay Garner actually concussed me a couple months later. Okay. in the same venue. Hit a shooting star press whilst I was covering someone else, and his head went through my jaw. Wow! So that knocked me. That was probably as bad, if not a little bit worse. But in terms of pain, shoulder.
So as we said earlier, we're here at Sacrifice Pro now. One kind of prop I always give to Sacrifice is the stories that they're building, as far as pushing characters and pushing actual storylines rather than
not your just show, is it?
Yeah, that's it. So you're obviously at the moment in the middle of a bit of a program with Twister. And kind of have been since the first show. Yeah, that guy. What's it like for you as a performer, having more than just, oh, you got 15 minutes with this guy, you're the hero, you're the face?
I don't think you can actually describe the difference it makes to your growth and your, like, if I wrestle 10, 15 matches and they're against different baby faces and I'm doing the same job, go over dirty or put them over clean, it's like you can only learn so much from those matches, and you're reducing your bump card every time you do it. And I don't know, no hits on guys that go out travelling. That's what you've got to do. That's how you become a better wrestler. It's just the way it is. But in terms of story work, as soon as I've had a story, I remember that Hope and Glory. It was like
you and Jay.
Me and Jay. I had the chance to do some stuff that wasn't just generic stuff. Like the promo at the start where he kicked me with a boot. So I had a chance to go on the mic for first, and I'm very confident at talking. Like, I can talk for days.
Cool.
If you might have noticed already.
We're up to 35 minutes.
There you go. So I can talk like it's nothing. But yes, Chris, keep nodding your head. But no, I essentially, any story work I had was just, it was very eye-opening to see what this business can really be in terms of making someone a bigger name, a bigger product, a bigger asset to the business. So when I had that main event where I attacked Jay and put his leg on the chair, put him on the stage, hit the submission for the first time. It was good for me, and it made me grow a lot. But like you said, at Sacrifice, it's all about story, and it's all about what's next for the product and why are you bringing the fans back. They don't just want to see that star perform again. They want to see what happens when
in the story
actually finally gets Kai to. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's more of a storytelling business at Sacrifice than it is just wrestling.
Because I think Lee was saying that he knows exactly what you and Twister are doing up until, I think he said, March next year, which is
he
insane.
Knows,
so
he knows my plans.
Yeah,
he's got plans.
Do you know the plans or?
There's I can kind of guess some of them. And he's kind of hinted at other plans, but with this business, you never know what could happen.
That's true.
I could do my shoulder again today. I could,
fingers crossed you don't.
Fingers crossed. I try to work as safely as I can. But like you said, you never know what happens. So it's just every day as it comes so far. But in terms of like short term, I've got a rough idea of what's going to happen. But that it's building my confidence to know that there's other places I can go. There's a light at the end of the tunnel in the story, which is great.
Cool. And when you say other places you can go, what other promotions are you? Because obviously you're Sacrifice at the moment. You've got a bit of Hope and a bit of Apex.
So obviously, like you said, Sacrifice, Apex, and Hope. In terms of going to other promotions, this year's been like a bit of a crazy one for me. A lot of stuff at home's gone wrong and gone right, and a lot of stuff outside of that, like education and stuff, it's changed. So in terms of this year, I've just tried to get myself sorted out. I know I can get regular bookings at these promotions, so I've kind of decided to say, right, not put a foot on the brakes, but
wait for the right time.
Wait for the right time, exactly. I think next year is going to be the start of when I really start going out places and sending emails to promoters and saying that this is what I can do, because a lot of people that do that haven't had half the experience I've had and haven't had half the matches I've had. So I think I could be more successful at it in that sort of time frame. But at the minute, very dedicated to Lee and Sacrifice, and with Hope and Apex, it's just trying to hit my stride a little bit more, because I think there's still people that look at me and say, well, it's still not. I don't think you should be a heel. I think because a couple of people at the Apex show were saying, they were talking about the match with Jay Garner, Ryan Smile, and Ashley Dunn. Great match. Jay really looked like he belonged. So and it was a proper high flying main event style match. And I don't know who I was sat next to, but I think it might have been one of the trainees said, you're definitely in this level. I think your problem is you're a heel. And I said, well, what, do you not consider me like a main event heel? Obviously Lee does, because he's put me in the main event for Sacrifice 2. I was saying Boo Earns. Hit it up on demand when it comes out. But yeah, so I think I'm still just trying to prove to those people that I am a main event hero.
I think I'd told them to shut up if that was
well, that's it.
Like, if I'd have heard that, because I think you've definitely proved. Because obviously, I think when I first heard you were going to Heel, I was like, man, that's going to be tricky for you. But I think you smashed it. To be honest.
Thank you, I appreciate that, man. I've tried very hard to be considered. It's hard to look at a young kid, like we said, with blonde hair, blue eyes, minimum facial hair, and say you're a heel, and you know you should be tucked about at home. Do you know what I mean? I've really tried to bring myself as far away from that as possible, and it's involved a lot of crowd work and a lot of crazy spots and finishes and a lot of being a really slimy guy. But I think I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Step by step.
You are, man, I think. Where can promoters and people kind of get in touch with you and follow you on social media? Whereabouts you at?
Well, at Real Kai Payne, as you know, at Real Kai Payne on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Could get on Snapchat with a wrestling account, but I think it's a bit far, isn't it? All my booking emails and stuff are on my Twitter and Facebook and stuff. So if promoters want to contact me, they have before, but it's not been in bulk, because I think I've kind of had my dates set out for Apex and for Sacrifice, but that's where they can hit me up. Social media, it's the way of the future, isn't it? I suppose. I would definitely like to branch out a bit more next year.
I can see it happening.
I hope so. That'd be good.
Kai Payne, thank you very much for joining me on Figure 4 Radio.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Handshake always good for
radio. See you later.
There you go, folks. Kai Payne. I'd like to thank Kai for sitting down with me, having a little chat with me just before the show there at Sacrifice Pro Wrestling. Everything you heard there, folks, 100% genuine from the heart. I'd say I was there at Kai's debut. I might share the footage if Kai will let me. Although, to be honest, I think it'll be Danny Mayhem that's going to say no, because the first thing he did in the match was basically just run into a guy and they both fell over, both selling, even though none of them threw any offense. What a debut it was for both guys. Of course, you can catch Kai Payne at Sacrifice Pro Wrestling, Apex Pro Wrestling, and Hope Wrestling. Check out all those three promotions to find Kai Payne next time he's around. If you don't already, give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/Figure4Radio, and if you're on Twitter, give us a follow on there as well. That's at Figure4Radio. Give me a follow at F4R_Mastermind. I don't post too much, so I won't clog up your feed, but all those likes, follows, and shares are appreciated. I think we're on Instagram as well. That's at Figure4Radio. If you don't already subscribe to us on iTunes or Podomatic, do so. That's where you can get all the podcasts. Well, I'm sure you listen to it now, so you know where to find those. And of course, go to our website, figure4radio.weebly.com, for any random bits of information. There's a few blog posts there from last year as well. Go and check out what we've got. And lastly, if you are a wrestling promoter or you know any wrestling promoters and you want that cherry on top of your product and you want some commentary adding, by all means get in touch with us on Facebook, on Twitter. We are available for bookings. You can catch me at Sacrifice Pro Wrestling July the 16th. That's Sacrifice Pro Wrestling on Facebook. And then July the 28th, me and Kai Brand make our trip over to Wales to Glenethley for Exposure Wrestling. That is July the 28th. Head over to Exposure Entertainment on Facebook. Next day after that, July 29th, the Wrestling League in Harwich. Or is it Harwich? I never know how to say these places. Check out the Wrestling League on Facebook for details on there. Then August 20th, we're back in Leighton Buzzard for Sacrifice Pro Wrestling. And then September the 2nd, it's the Wrestling League, this time in Ipswich. We will be back next week, folks, with the Bromantics. It really is a Sacrifice Pro Wrestling time of the year right now. So tune in next week for the chat with the Bromantics. But for now, I've been the Mastermind Ollie Spring, and we'll see you next week on Figure 4 Radio.